Congratulations on receiving your Aipas C1. So let's go ahead and put this bike together so we can get it out on the road. Let's go ahead and get this box open. You have staples through here. So all you have to do is grab a corner, pull up real hard, and then it starts to come undone. It might come apart, so you have to do it from the other side as well. There we go. This is how the bike is packaged. You're going to need a pair of scissors or a knife so that you can remove all this packing material. Let's go ahead and pull this piece off right here. It's just styrofoam. And at this point, we need to figure out how to get the bike out of the box. And we have some options. If you're strong enough, you can just pick it up and lift it out. Or you can use a knife or something like that and cut the sides to open this up. You can open up the ends, or you can open up this main flap to give you some area to work on. That's what we're going to do. So either grab a knife or something like that. I'm just going to use my hand. And there it is. The next step is to remove all this packing material and see what we have to work with. This is everything that comes in the box. You have the bike itself, your front fender, your front tire. This manual right here will show us how to put the bike together. You're going to have tools right here. These are your pedals. This is a quick release for this tire, your rear rack, and a seat. Our first step is to turn this around. This was put this way for shipping, but this needs to be facing this way right here. So to do that, we're going to loosen up these two side bolts, and now we can turn it the proper way. This is how we want it. Now let's tighten these up just a little bit. Next, we're going to remove this front bracket right here so we can install our handlebars. You're going to grab your handlebars and you're going to spin them around, and this ridged part right here is what's going to go against this bracket to hold it into place. Now you want to make sure that the lever right here is facing this way, and your brake levers are also facing away from the bike. That way you know you have this on correctly. From there, you're going to grab your front bracket and we're just going to place it on there, and then we're going to hand tighten some of these screws in so that it will stay. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten these bolts. You do it in a pattern that's diagonal. We're going to do this one first, then this one, then this one, and then that one. Make sure that you don't tighten it up extremely tight, because you want to make sure that you have the same space in between the front bracket and the stem as you do underneath. The way I do it is I tighten one down a little bit, and then I go to the other one and do the same. Now we'll bounce over to this one, tighten it up, and this one as well. And we're going to do this a couple of times until everything is cinched down nicely. Now that we have things nice and tight, you're going to notice that your adjustable stem is pretty loose, and so we're going to tighten this up next. The way you tighten this adjustable stem is you put an Allen wrench in here and an Allen wrench on this side, and then you turn them counterclockwise. But they only come with one wrench that will fit in here, but it takes two. So hopefully you have a second one to put in there, because if not, you're not going to be able to tighten this. You don't have to turn them both. You can use one to just hold it, and then the other one to tighten. Once you get the adjustable stem the way you want it, we're going to tighten it up right here and lock it in. Next, we're going to go ahead and put the seat inside the post. This way we can turn the bike upside down and put our front tire on. Once you get it in there, you're just going to tighten up the seat post clamp. If it is too loose, you're going to spin this little dial right here and then tighten it up again. Now we're going to go ahead and turn the bike upside down. If the bike is too heavy for you, you can remove this battery. The keys are right here. You can just unlock it, pull the battery out, and that's going to lighten it up so we can turn the bike upside down. This piece right here is just used for shipping. We need to take that off so we can put the wheel on. Now, if you are lucky, these are going to be hand tightened and you can spin it that way. If not, you're going to have to grab your 13, and we're just going to use it to unscrew this interior bolt. Luckily enough, this was loose enough, and there we go. Let's get rid of that. This is your front wheel. If this is still on protecting the brake, you just got to pull that off. Spin the tire around. You're going to see another cap over here protecting the entrance, and we're just going to pull that off as well. Now we're going to grab the quick release for your front wheel. This is how it is. We're going to take this cap off right here, And we're going to remove this spring. Now the spring only goes on one way. It has a small end and a big end. Whenever we put it on the stick, you're putting it in small end first. The other side has a spring as well. To ensure that you put your front wheel on correctly, we want to make sure that the brake rotor is on the same side as the brake itself. To do that, we're just going to slide it right in, putting the rotor right in between the two brakes, and the wheel falls right into the fork. Now, take your quick release and slide it into the hole that goes through the wheel. You can see it popping out of the other side. Let's go ahead and put our spring in, small end first, and we're going to tighten this cap up some. You want to keep turning it until it feels tight against the fork. Now take your lever and cinch it down. This will lock in your wheel. If it is loose, make sure it is tight. Now we want to check to see if the brake rotor is rubbing against the brake, and to do that, we're just going to grab the front tire and spin it. This one is perfect. I hear no noise, and it is not slowing down the tire. But if you do have this problem, this next chapter is going to show you how to fix that. If you don't have a problem with your brake, just move on to the following chapter. We're going to see if this front brake needs adjustment and see if it's rubbing on the rotor. We can find that out by just spinning the tire. You can hear that it's rubbing and it stopped really quick, so I'm going to show you how to fix that. When it comes to doing a brake adjustment, I'm only interested in two bolts, this one right here and this one down here. You are going to grab your wrench and we're going to loosen these two bolts. Not a whole lot, just enough to where the caliper will move, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see how these move? That's what I need. Right here is your front brake lever. And what we're going to do is we're going to spin this wheel real quick. We're going to hold this brake down, and then we're going to tighten those two bolts back up. Let me show you. And now we're going to tighten these. Let's see if it solved the problem. It spins freely, but I can hear that it's still hitting. By looking at it, I can see that the pad is hitting the rotor on this side. So we are going to make some micro adjustments. I'm going to loosen this bolt here, and the other one ever so slightly, so I can move this caliper. Now I'm going to push it right there in the middle, and then we're going to spin it a little bit. And the goal is to make it to where it doesn't hit. And that looks good. You might have to make some adjustments down here at the bottom as well. And now it is completely silent. That is exactly what we're looking for. Tighten both of these down really well, and we have just created silent brakes. Now let's turn the bike over so we can continue to work on it. And now we can use the kickstand. Now we're going to install the headlight and the fender, and to do that we need to remove the bolt here and here off of each side of the fork. Do not lose the washer that is attached to the bolt. To remove this, you'll have to grab your 10-inch wrench and put it behind here to put it on the nut, and now you can unscrew this bolt. Grab your front fender and just slide it in. You're going to push in these ends so that it easily fits in behind this front fork here. These side pieces are going to come down. We're going to hook the headlight and the fender right here. Make sure that your washer is on the front bolt. It's going to go through the headlight first and then through the fender. You want to get your bolt, the washer, then the light, then the fender. This is how you want it. Let's grab our wrench and tighten it up. When it starts to get tight, I push up the fender so that it gives you more room between the fender and the tire, and then we're going to tighten it just so it doesn't move. Go ahead and attach these side arms right here by using the bolts. Make sure your washer, you have the bolt, the washer, and then you just tighten them up. Do the same thing to the other side. When installing this side, make sure you don't pinch this cable. Just run it right here behind it, and that way that leaves this free. Now insert your washer and the nut, and we're just going to tighten everything up. At this point, your stem might not be lined up with your tire. So to do that, make sure you loosen these two bolts right here, and then we're just going to turn the stem until it is lined up with the tire. And now we can just tighten these back up and tighten them very tight. While we're still here in the front, we're going to free up this display. Let's remove these keys and our warranty card. To attach the display, we're going to have to remove these bolts right here. There are nuts on the back side. Make sure you do not lose those nuts because they will come out when you take these bolts out. With the bolts and nuts removed, you're just going to open up each side and just fit it over the handlebar. It's going to fight you, but you can do it. And now let's go ahead and put the bolt and nuts back in. I like to leave mine a little loose until I have everything adjusted the way that I want it. Now turn your controller to the front. The rear fender does not come attached, so we're going to have to attach it by putting it into these bolts right here. The bad part is you cannot get to this bolt without moving this derailleur guard. So you're going to have to grab your 18 and try to get in there and loosen it some so we can move this derailleur guard. And hopefully that'll give us the play that we need to get in here. And it does not, but it does move up enough to where we can do it from this part. Put your fender right here, and we're going to reattach it. Now we are able to get that in there to tighten it up just a little bit. Put your cable back here, use your 18, and tighten it back up. And you want to tighten it very tight. There we go. Things are going to be easier on this side as we just need to remove this one and then put our sidearm right there. Now we're going to install the rear rack, and to give you an idea how that's going to fit, it's going to connect right here and right here on both sides. So we're going to remove the bolts from here and here on each side. We're going to bring the rack over and place it where it needs to be. Now it's going to rattle around for a minute, and to do this, I always put one in over on this side, and then we'll put an end over on the top as well. And that way it just won't be rocking back and forth. Now I'm going to tighten these up a little bit so that they'll kind of stay. And now I can tighten this one up a little bit as well. We can still move the rack, but now it's just not going to be rattling around. Now we'll put the bolt in on this one by lifting the rack up to make sure it lines up correctly. I'm just going to tighten that down very little because you don't want it to tighten up on the other side. So let's go ahead and put that one in. We now need to connect this wire up here to the brake light, but they have this loop right here. So we're going to run the wire through this zip tie that they have right here. And now we're just going to line up the arrows. It has arrows on it. And we're just going to line those up, squeeze it together. Now tighten this up. This one's already tight. And then we're just going to cut the ends off of this. And now the rack and the brake light is all connected. It is now time to assemble the pedals. As you can see right here, it shows you that this is for your right-hand side. Grab the pedal that has the R on it and match these up together. It also tells you which way to spin it. So I'm going to remove this decal. I'm going to remove the one off the pedal as well. Grab your 15 wrench and you're just going to turn it the way that it showed you. And you will do the same thing to the left-hand side, also turning it towards the front of the bike. Don't forget to take off your protective coverings. Now that the bike is together, you're going to want to grab an air pump and air up each one of these tires. It says that you can air them all the way up to 65 pounds. I'm going to put these at 60 so that I have a little bit of cushion while riding. Well, we did it. We got our Aipas C1 put together. Now, before we take it out on our first ride, we're going to go ahead and charge up the battery all the way to full. I will be doing a full review on this bike, and when I do, it's going to show up right there, and that's going to teach you everything you need to know about this bike, from how to operate it to how it handles on the street. Well, I want to thank you for watching, and until I see you again, enjoy the ride.